welcome back to Online Equestrian Lessons. I'm Katie, and in today's video we are going to be doing some groundwork. So we have Lass with us today, and she has been off of work for about 2 years. She was broke pretty good, did a couple shows and everything, but then was laid off for a couple years. So we're just going to be kind of bringing her back into work, and the first thing I'm going to do is just start off with some good groundwork. She's a little bit skittish and a little bit worried about some different things, so we're just going to try to work through some of those things today. So I'm going to bring her on out here where you can kind of see her, and the groundwork that I'm going to be doing today has a pretty big emphasis on natural horsemanship. So I really like to use natural horsemanship. I use it with all of my horses. When I'm looking to buy a horse, I'll go through some of them just to see how the horse reacts to certain things. So your natural horsemanship, sort of like Pirelli, things like that, are just a really good thing to have in your tool belt. So I'm just going to go over sort of the very beginning of some of the natural horsemanship games that we're going to do to sort of the end. And you're doing this every single day with your horse, or as much as you can. Your horse is just going to get better and better and better with this, and everything that you do with your horse on the ground is going to go for when someday you get on your horse, or even just to help tweak some things. Even if your horse already does ride, it's just going to help tweak some things so that when you do get on your horse, they're even going to be better under saddle. So the very first thing I like to do, just make sure that you have a nice rope halter on your horse that fits good, a nice heavy long lead, something that's got some weight to it, something that's pretty long so that when you're doing your groundwork, say if you're doing some lunging or something, you've got a way to get quite a ways away from your horse for safety reasons. But you also want something that's not too long. So just a nice, I think this is probably about 9 foot something. Okay, so the very first, excuse the dog barking in the background, by the way. Oh, she's chasing the kitty. Okay, so the very first game that we're going to do today is the don't move your feet game. So I just want to be able to stand right in front of her here. Now I'm a ways away from her. Generally you wouldn't stand in front of a horse, but I'm a ways away right here so I can watch what she's doing. So I just want to look at her feet, and I just want to make sure that she can just stand quietly here on a nice long lead. I don't think she's going to move, but if she were to move, I would just shake my rope. Now, she's pretty good with this groundwork already. She's done this since she was pretty little, so she's pretty good with this. But if your horse isn't wanting to stand, shake your rope at them and just try to get them to stand for, even a few seconds. And again, this will just get better and better the more you do it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is called the yo-yo game. So this is going to be working with sort of pressure and release. So this is going to be able to get your horse really nice and light with any kind of pressure on their head. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to, with my hand open, I'm just going to slide the rope through my hand here about 3 or 4 times. And I want her to come to me off of that light pressure. Now, if I've already done that about 3 or 4 times and she doesn't come, well, there she came, so that was good. If she didn't come with my hand open, I would close my hand on the rope and do that 3 or 4 times. And if she didn't come, then I would go ahead and bump. And I would bump, bump, bump till she came, and then I would release. So it's really important that anything you're doing with your horse, you do it as a sort of pressure and release system. So you give pressure lightly first. If they don't come, you get a little harder. If they don't come or move away from the pressure, then you bump. As soon as your horse reacts, as soon as your horse moves away from the pressure or comes and gives to that pressure, release immediately. And that release is going to be what is a reward for your horse. So that's going to be teaching them to be nice and supple and soft. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. So I'm just asking lightly for her to come, and then I'm going to stop because she's coming. Now, when you're doing your groundwork, you want to keep your personal space. This is so important. So if you think about like a hula hoop around you, like your personal space bubble, you want your horse to always stay out of your personal space at all times. This is for your safety. So when I ask her to come to me here again, I'm going to ask softly. I want her to stop just far enough away that I can reach out and go. Okay, so I can reach out and pet her now. Okay, so I don't want her to come any closer than that unless I asked her to. But right now, especially with a horse that's green, a horse that you're starting, or a horse that can be a little bit skittish or spooky or pushy, you don't ever want them to come into your personal space. It's so important because you don't want your horse to ever, run into you or over you, anything like that. So teaching them that personal space is really important. It's just like if I was the boss horse in the field, I wouldn't let her just come right into my space. So same thing. So we're kind of working, with her just as if I were the boss horse or you were the boss horse if you were working with your horse. Okay, so once I've asked my horse to come to me, now I'm going to ask her to go away. It's so important you teach your horse to back away from you. This is just so important, whether you're, needing to back out of your horse trailer or back away from another horse, anything like that. This is really important. So again, I want to teach my horse to back off from the lightest pressure possible. So I'm going to just shake my finger here and see if she's really good with this groundwork. But if my horse didn't go, so I would just shake my finger at first, like, back up now, backing up 3 or 4 times, and then I would shake my wrist so that movement, that little bitty movement, she can feel that on the rope, on her nose and everything. And then she's going to back up now. If she didn't, I would go to my elbow, then I would go to my full arm, and then I would go up and down. And you might have to do this, you might have to get pretty hard at first for your horse to understand. Once your horse backs up, stop the motion. Release that lead rope. If you have to release it all the way down to the ground so it stops moving, do that. Give them that pressure and release. It may take you quite a while to get your horse to back up. Once you do, release, and then do it 3 or 4 more times till you find a good stopping point. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. And if you can back your horse off of your finger, then that just means they're really in tune to you and they're really, really listening, which is exactly what you want. You want your horse to be really in tune to you. Here I'm going to have to be a little bit harder because she's got her mind over there on the dog. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to ask her to come to me again. So she's not really listening, so I'm going to give her a little bump there. There we go. Then I'm going to ask again. Close my fingers here on the lead rope, and then I'm going to bump, and then release. There, now she's licking and chewing, so I'm going to let her stand there for a minute. So once you see your horse licking and chewing, that means they understand what you were asking them, which is really good. Okay, so open hand, 1, 2, 3, 4. Close my hand on the rope, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bump a little bit, release. There we go. She still has her mind over there, but that's okay. 1, 2, 3, release. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close my hand. 1, 2. Good. She's still got her mind over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring my rope over here and make her sort of pay attention. Okay, I'm going to go backwards 1 more time. So shaking my finger. She's got to fly. Shaking my finger. Good. Good girl. So that was really good. She backed up really nicely there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to come up and do the friendly game. So this is just where I'm going to come up, and I've got my rope here, but I'm just going to pet her all over. Good girl. Let her know that everything's okay. I'm not going to hurt her. Just try to get her confident. Good. Good girl. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is a little bit of desensitizing. So you can use your lead rope for this. But what I'm going to do, because she's a little bit skittish and I want to get a little bit further away from her, is I'm going to grab my stick and string here. You can get a stick and string. You can use a lunge whip. This is actually a lunge whip, but it's got a long string on it, so this is going to work really well. So all I want to do here is just get her used to the equipment that I'm going to be using on her, because she's broke, but she's got a little bit where she's skittish, and especially on a young horse. Eventually you're going to be throwing your leg over her. So you want to get them used to ropes and, strings and sacks and blankets and the saddle and all kinds of stuff. So we're just going to start really lightly here. I'm just going to let her see the end of this, and she's a little bit nervous about it. Just going to let her see it. And then I just want to see if I can't rub her with it here. Riley loves to help lunge the horses, help lead the horses. She thinks everything's a toy. Okay. All right, so we've done that. So now we're going to get her used to our lead rope here. I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, when I went to catch her today, for whatever reason, she was pretty spooky just about putting the halter and lead rope on. So anything we can do like this is just going to help her to get more and more comfortable. So I'm just going to kind of rub her here with it for a minute. Now, when you're throwing something over to the other side of the horse, you want to make sure that they're not going to spook and come into you. So the first thing I'm going to do is just rub her with it on this side, right here. I'm staying kind of cattywampus to her shoulder here to make sure that she doesn't, if she were to spook, I could also push off of her, but you want to make sure you're not standing in front of them. Okay. So now I'm just going to see if I can't throw this over her. And I'm going to do each section of her body. So if she does good, I'm going to try to do her neck about 3 times, her back about 3 times, her hindquarters about 3 times. But you may only need to do like maybe 1 time on her neck if she does really good. Her hindquarters, if she flinches at all, you might have to do 5 times. But you just have to keep going till you don't see them flinching and you see that they're nice and relaxed. Sit. Riley. Sit. Good girl. Just throwing it up over. Getting her good and used to it. Leave it. Good girl. Here. Okay, so once she's good with that, rub them. Rub them all over. Let them know that nothing's going to hurt them. Everything's okay. All right. Now what we do on one side, we've got to do on the other side. It's so important. Good girl. You can come to the other side here. Good girl. All right. All right, same thing. One side is generally harder than the other, so every horse has their side that they're harder on. Good. Good girl. Rub them in that spot after they were good. Good. Ready? Good. And this is good. This is another thing. Now, this horse is used to dogs, and you definitely want to be careful, but what this dog is doing around this horse right now while we're training is good. All this, playing and stuff around her, as long as you make sure you're keeping yourself safe, you don't want to get hurt. Safety is number 1. But this is good because, she's going to have to get used to dogs, chickens, 4-wheelers, all kinds of things. Good. All right, that was really good. Good girl. Good girl. Rub them. Rub your horse. Okay. The next thing that I like to do, and you want to be especially careful around your horse's legs, especially, if your horse is green or hasn't been handled that much, you want to be careful. But I like to kind of rub them here. Take my lead rope over her leg, and I like to just kind of rub that lead rope down her leg a little bit, because, say your horse gets a lariat or something around her leg, you don't want them to freak out. So getting used to this now is really important. So I like to just kind of see if I can lift her leg up a little bit. Leave it. See if you can't lead them a little bit. So say they're caught up in barbed wire or something. See if you can't get them used to that. Where if their foot gets caught up in a halter or something, they won't freak out. They'll just stand there and wait for help. This is really good for them. So I'm going to do the other side. Lift. You can also say something like lift, pick it up, anything like that, because pretty soon your horse is going to have to, get its hooves turned, things like that. Good, lift. Good girl. Okay, that's really good. You can do this with the back legs as well. Just can't rub them enough. Can't do enough. Okay, so you can go to all kinds of extents with. This is called the friendly game. Just getting them used to all kinds of objects and things. Generally, I stop there, but I'm going to go ahead into the saddle blanket today as well. So when I bring in something new up to my horse, I like to let them see it. If it's a saddle blanket, open open it up. Let them see it. Let them sniff it. She's had saddle blankets on her a billion times, but she's gotten a little bit nervous, so that's okay. Good girl. So I'm gonna see if I can rub her with it here. So I'm gonna just turn her in a circle here. She can't go very far. Going in a circle. Make sure my rope's not coiled around my hand. Whoa. Good. See if I can't just rub her with it. Just rub. Try and stop it. Good. Rub her with it. Take it away. Good girl. And then I'm just gonna pet her. Okay, good. And do the same thing to the other side. Let her see it. Oh, there's my rope. Here, good girl. Try to leave it. Good. Easy. Now I've got my lead rope short enough that if she tries to turn and kick, I can get her hindquarters away from me. There we go. Sorry, kind of went out of the vision of the camera there. Good girl. There we go. Rub her with it. Now you can see how she's standing. She's a little bit nervous, but that's okay. That was really good. So if you just keep doing that, you know, every day or a few times a day, eventually she will get to where she's figured out that it's not going to hurt her. Okay, so that was all the friendly game. You're throwing your whip up over her, or your string, throwing a lead rope over her, throwing a saddle blanket, things like that. That was all the friendly game. Rubbing them. That's the friendly game. Okay, just becoming their friend, making sure that they know you're not going to hurt them. Good girl. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is just more on getting them to go away from pressure. So I'm going to start right here. Let me move her this way a little bit. I'm going to start right here at her head and neck. So eventually when you get on, you're going to want her to move different parts of her body, whether it's her front, her forequarters or her hindquarters. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to go light as pressure as possible. I want her to move her forequarters away from me. So I'm going to touch her hair on her face. I'm going to go hair, skin, muscle, and then if she doesn't go, I'm going to bump her. And I want her to go off of the lightest pressure as possible. Horses can feel, as you can see her flinching right there, she's got a fly on her. The horse can feel a fly land on them, so they can go off really light pressure. So when you get on your horse, you know, if you're having to kick your horse a lot just to make them go back to doing the lightest pressure first and get harder and harder. Don't start with that harder pressure, because it will just make your horse numb. You'll have to nag them a lot to get them to go, and it'll just wear your legs out. Same thing with your hands and the bit in your horse's mouth. So we're going to go with the lightest pressure possible, and if she gets to that light pressure, we're going to release. If we have to use harder and harder and harder pressure, and once she goes, we're going to release, it's going to teach her that she could have just gone off of that light pressure. Okay, so we're just going to ask her head to go away from us, and then we're going to ask her shoulder to go away. When she does, we're going to rub. Good girl. So, on her face, hair, skin, muscle, on her shoulder, hair, skin, good. And she moves, so we're going to rub. That was really good. All right, I'm going to do the same thing now on her hindquarters. Okay, so when we get on our horse, we're going to have our leg right here. So I'm going to put my leg right here, but then to just help her understand what I'm asking, I'm also going to just put my hand here on her hindquarters. So I'm going to ask her hind end to step over. Good. Now you may really have to bump on your horse if they're not very sensitive to get them to go, but eventually you'll be able to get lighter and lighter with your ace. Good. So I can do that about 3 to 4 times, but she did really good. So I'm going to end with that and go to the other side. So I got my rope in my hand here so I can stop her if she tries to swing her rear around. Good. Rub. Just getting them to move off of pressure. This is so handy. You know, like in the barn, when you're grooming or close to a wall, you gotta make sure you can ask your horse to move away from your pressure. This is all really important things to teach your horse. There we go. And rub. Good girl. Good girl. Okay, so let me come get her over here closer to the camera. The next thing I'm going to teach my horse is one of the most important safety sort of aspects that I like to teach all of my horses, and this is to flex, lateral flexion. So your lateral flexion is a really huge safety factor when you're riding your horse. So if for some reason your horse, you know, is getting a little antsy, getting a little bit worried about something, taking off too fast, wanting to buck, something like that. All right, Leland. Okay. If you flex your horse's neck just like this right here, it just helps them calm down and kind of forget what they were worried about in the first place. And it also gives you a little bit of safety, because when a horse is going around in a circle, they can't really go anywhere. You do want to be careful. You don't want to just flex your horse at a dead run or something. You wouldn't want them to fall over. But this is just so important, especially like out trail riding. Make sure your horse knows how to flex and give to pressure. So we're going to kind of, this is called the trombone game. So we're going to run our hand down here, sort of like a trombone, kind of like we did in the yo-yo game, real light, 3 or 4 times. And if she doesn't go ahead and flex, then I'm going to rub my hand down and I'm going to bump really lightly. Bump, 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 until she gives. Good, and then release and rub. Good girl. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bump, 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 and release. And rub. Good. Do that again. 1, 2. Good. And then I didn't even have to grab the rope to bump. That was really good. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And once you teach your horse how to flex laterally, you can also teach them how to flex vertically. She's already wanting to, and I didn't even ask, so there we go. Good girl. Good girl. She's already done this before. I'll show you in a minute. She's done this ever since she was like a 2-year-old, so she knows how to flex pretty well. When you first start this, you're probably gonna have to bump, 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 bump. And let me just show you. See if I can get her to move. She's like, wait a minute. Okay, generally this is what you're gonna have when you first ask your horse to flex. Just get her to move. So you're gonna be bump, 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 bump. Bumping, 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 until finally your horse finds that stopping spot, and when they find that stopping spot, release. At first, you may go around in like 50 circles. You may only have to go around in like 2 or 3 circles, till your horse figures out they don't have to move, that they can flex and bend their neck like this. You can use treats and things like that, but I highly recommend just teaching your horse to flex off of that pressure, because eventually you want to go to a basel, and then eventually you want to go to a bit, and you've got to be able to teach your horse to give to that pressure. See how light that is? I'm just barely touching this little bitty bump, and she's flexing, so she can feel that on her nose, and so eventually, you know, when you go to get on, she'll just be really light in your hands. So it's really important to teach those things to your horse. Okay. Another thing you can do is teach your horse to give the pull. So just drop my lead rope here, and I'm gonna pretty much do the same thing, but this is gonna how to use my hand here is almost like if you were gonna go milk a cow. So you would start with the first your pointer finger and your thumb, and then you would keep going down like this until you have all your fingers on your rope. And then if she didn't give her head, you're gonna bump. So I'm wanting to teach her head to go down, to give from this pull pressure, just like if I was needing her head to go down to put the bridle on. It's really important to teach them to give to this pull pressure. And then it will also help your horse, teach your horse to give to this pressure and not pull back. So when your horse is tied up, if they feel that pressure up there, they'll give to it instead of getting scared and pulling back when your horse is tied up. So things like that. So I'm just going to add one finger at a time, and if she doesn't give, I'm going to bump, 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 bump. And I'm just going to keep going. It might take a little bit until she gives, and then I'm going to release. And my goal is to get her head that was really good. So it's so important getting your horse used to that pull pressure. There we go. Good. Okay? Do the same thing on the other side. Bump, bump. Good. Good girl. Good. Okay? Another thing you can do, so we've backed up from the lead rope, and then we've given the pressure here. Now let's teach her to back up from nose pressure. So I'm going to put both my fingers here, so my thumb and my pointer finger on either side of the big bone here on her nose, and I'm just going to go hair, then I'm going to touch her skin, then I'm going to push into her muscle, and then if she doesn't back up, then I'm going to bump. I'm going to keep bumping until she backs up. Good. And I'm going to rub. Hair, skin, muscle, bump, rub. Same thing, hair, skin, muscle, bump. So again, she's pretty new to this one, so if your horse has never done this before, you may have to do it a few times. I'm going to go to the other side. Hair, skin, muscle, bump. Bump, bump, bump. Good, rub. Hair, skin, muscle. That was better, so I'm going to end with that one. Okay? So these are just a couple different ways that you can ask your horse to back up. So say you're needing to get her to back up out of the trailer. You might try here, you might try the rope. Another thing you can try is right here at her chest. So I'm going to just put my hand here, touch her hair, skin, muscle, and then bump. Good girl. Do that again. Oh, that time she just went off of the skin, so that's good. Pull her forward again. We'll do the same thing on this side. Hair, skin, muscle, bump. Good. Hair, skin, muscle, bump. Bump, 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 bump. Good. So one more time. Hair, skin, and good, and release. Good job. Okay, so we are going to follow up and continue our training in the next video and finish out our natural horsemanship groundwork games. So if you like this video, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel, and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.